And then there was a microburst that like got rid of about 11 of the aircraft. I mean, we had, I think 70 something, but it destroyed like 11 aircraft. Yep. They got ripped out from the chains and thrown into the air and crashed back on the ground.
Well, Happy New Year and welcome to this episode of Aiming Point. I'm Aaron, long-haul A380 pilot based in the Middle East. And with me, as always, is UK commercial short-haul 320 pilot, Michelle.
Hey, yeah.
So we've been away for a few weeks now. Christmas and New Year was real crazy, especially for me and Michelle. So we haven't managed to get an episode out in December, but now we're in January 2025, New Year, great start. So we're really excited today because we've got a first guest on the podcast. So I'm thinking this is probably one of the newest type-rated A320 pilots in the UK, right? We've got Sydney Sullivan. She's fresh out of flight training. She has, I believe, just started line training and line flying for short-haul commercial airline based out of London, Gatwick. And we're going to get some insights into her training and how her new life as a pilot is going. So, Sydney, hey, how's it going?
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Of course. Great to have you. So, okay, so we're going to start off with 10 quick questions, real simple, just to kind of get a feel for who Sydney is. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
So, question 1, Sydney, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I am 30. I turned 30 in July.
Join the 30 club. Hey.
There we go.
Yeah, almost my half birthday.
Oh, amazing. Nice.
You know, I also celebrate a half birthday, and my husband's like, "You're so ridiculous." But
really?
I don't necessarily
Very
celebrate it, but on the day
strange,
I'll be like, "Oh, it's my 6-month birthday." Yeah.
It all counts. It all counts.
Oh
January
my gosh.
20th, if anyone's interested.
Okay, there you go. And what is your ethnic background?
So my mom is Caucasian and born in the UK, and my dad is from Trinidad in the Caribbean. So I'm half white, half black.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Have you ever lived in another country? And if so, where?
Yes. So I'm Canadian born. So I've lived in Canada and I've lived in the States and in the UK. So 3.
Nice. All right. What was your first job?
Ooh. Well, technically, my first job was acting, actually. Yeah, I did like commercials and extra work when I was a kid and have one movie credit on IMDb. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Fun.
So are we allowed to ask what was the movie?
It was literally, I had the tiniest role. I spoke like once, but I'm credited. So it's called 5 Days to Midnight. It's a mini series. And 2004. Yeah. So I was 8. Got paid really well, and there you go. So, but my first real job was working in retail.
Okay. Nice.
As a teenager.
What is your go-to coffee order?
I don't drink coffee.
Me neither. You're not a coffee fan.
No, I love
Doesn't do it for me.
No, I love the smell of like coffee beans, but even like a caramel macchiato, which is so like sweet, to me is too bitter because of the coffee in it.
Yeah.
So I'm a tea drinker. Yeah.
Okay. And what kind of tea? Just
I like peppermint, green, more like herbals. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, cool. Are you a dog person or a cat person?
Cats. Yeah.
Yes. Join
Dogs
the cat
are
crew.
great.
We were really going to be friends.
Cats are independent, and they're just cool, you know?
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
She is not happy.
I know, right?
Nope.
What is your favorite aircraft?
I'd say the King Air 350.
Okay. Interesting.
And the reason is because, and we'll get into this, but wanted to be a pilot when I was younger, but then it kind of faded away. And what reignited my excitement was based on where I was living. I would see the King Air come in every day and just like watching it look so majestic, and it kind of like reignited my passion for aviation. So yeah, the King Air.
That's pretty cool. Nice. What's your favorite destination?
We're talking to fly
Now, you
to
can
or
take
to
that
visit?
however you want to take
Okay.
it.
Well, I've not flown enough yet. So favorite destination, probably Aruba in the Caribbean, because it's just so beautiful. I've been twice, and the Eagle Beach is considered the nicest beach in the Caribbean and like in the top 5 in the world or something. So I just love it.
I can't say what my wife would say about that. Okay.
No, yeah. From Bahamas? No, but
yeah, she's from the Bahamas.
Exactly
So.
my thoughts. Yeah. It sounds lovely though. Let's not take it away from them.
And final question. This is a real curveball. Would you rather sing everything you say or dance every time you move?
Dance. For sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
I love to dance, and I can't sing to save my life. So easy answer.
There we go.
Cool. Nice. So you passed. Good job.
Yay.
Quick fire 10.
We
Well,
can
I was going to
continue.
say it's probably a 9 out of 10 for Michelle because of the cat thing.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll talk about that later. That's fine.
Okay.
Cool. So where should we start off? Oh, what did you do before flying? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but what did you do before you started this journey?
Yeah, I mean, so how much time do we have? Well, basically my background, I wanted to be a doctor originally. So
did I.
did you?
Yeah, we used to want to be a heart surgeon, like way back in the day.
So did I. Really?
Oh my God.
Like literally, like
Yeah.
that was my plan.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's wild. So basically, from the time I was 15, I was interested in aviation or medicine. But as you know, you kind of have to pick a lane. So in North America, at least, like you definitely go to university. And I had to decide if I was going to go more studying for aviation or studying for medicine. And I decided that my heart of hearts was saying medicine a little bit more. So I ended up doing a biochemistry degree. Absolutely loved it. Did really well in it. Worked in research.
I did a chemistry degree.
Seriously?
Oh my gosh. What's going on?
That's wild. I didn't even know
people.
that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did a biochemistry degree. I worked in research labs. Like I really got stuck in it. I loved it. And then started applying to medical school when I was about 22, 23. And long story short, I interviewed and waitlisted at the NYU School of Medicine in New York. And they had like 10,000 applications, 900 interviews, 90 spots. And I actually got waitlisted, so I was pretty proud of that. And then it was while I was waitlisted, though, that I started kind of having these thoughts about aviation again. And a lot of my friends and family were like, you're obsessed with planes and the way you talk about flying. And like your heart seems to, like your eyes like light up when you see aircraft. I'm like, are you sure you want to go into medicine? And I kept being like, yeah, because I did. And I know I would have loved it. But I started like having not second thoughts, but just going like, ooh, is this really what I want to do? So I just gave myself I basically said to myself, if I get off the wait list and I get into NYU, I'm going to go and I'll be a great doctor and I'll love it. And if I don't, instead of reapplying, I'm just going to take it as a sign that like it's not meant for me. And I never got off the wait list.
Yeah.
So I decided to switch gears and go into aviation. So I'm glad I did.
Oh, wow.
I'm really glad I did. Yeah.
Wow.
That's so cool.
Because that's like 2 big career choices.
Yeah. Very different.
Wow.
So for me, I used to want to be a doctor when I was like really small. And then from about 13, 14, that's when I thought about becoming a pilot. So for me, like the thought of going to medical school didn't even get that far, because by that point, when I was choosing my like GCSEs for the end of secondary school, A-levels, I'd already decided then on pilot. But yeah, random.
That's
the
so
same
cool.
thing.
Like not just medicine, but you wanted to go into like cardiac surgery. That was an interest of mine. And then you did a chemistry degree and I did a biochemistry degree. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's really
I think
strange.
back in the day, I used to watch a lot of ER and I thought it was like pretty cool.
I think a lot of us did. I think a lot of people that go into medicine watch those shows. Yeah.
It's probably not like that at all.
No, it's not as exciting.
No, we don't. exciting. Like, I suppose then the next question, like, what was your first like little sprinkle into aviation? Because I'm sure there's loads of people out there that also have little ideas about what they might want to do, but then how do you get from that little idea to like where you are now and flying a plane? So what was your little idea at the start that made you want to get into aviation? And was it always pilot that you wanted to do, or something else in aviation?
So going back to when I was 15, in Canada, or at least in BC, the curriculum is that you have to do like, it's called Planning 10 in grade 10. And it's basically like you look at careers, scholarship writing, job applications, like all that. It's really useful. And we had to do this, I swear it was like 2 hours long. It was a careers like quiz. And it looks, I mean, you're 15, but it goes through all your like competencies, things that you like, things that you could be good at. It was so long. And then it gives you like, I think it gives you 3 or 4 careers. And then we had to pick 2 that we were interested in and research them. And I got doctor, pilot, I swear, like accountant, and then like something else.
Then, yeah.
And so it was like, I had to research 2 of them, and I picked pilot and doctor. And then, as I said, that was kind of like that was what influenced me to choose like either one of them. And then in terms of like getting back into it, so when I was applying to medical school and NYU, I was living in this Indigenous, like First Nations community in northern Quebec in Canada. And I was teaching there. It's a little tiny, like isolated community with like 2,000 people and a small little gravel runway. And my house was basically overlooking the runway. So we'd have Dash 8s and King Airs coming in, like a few per day. And they would go to Montreal and like other cities and stuff in Canada. And it was seeing the King Air come in, and I would literally be like walking back from the school and it would fly overhead, and I would jump around like a little kid and get like super excited. And there was also the de Havilland, the otter that would come in sometimes and take people to like remote parts in like the wilderness and stuff. The families have cabins there. And it was yellow and it was cute, and it would always come in. And so I messaged the pilot and I just said to him like, hey, could I like come up with you one day? And he's like, yeah, what about tomorrow? So I went up with him. And we just had like the best time. And that was the first time that I'd ever been in a small aircraft like that. And I like instantly fell in love and was like, and he let me like play around with it. And I'm like, I really want to do this. Like for sure.
That's so cool.
Did you have any pilots in the family?
No. I didn't even know any. I didn't have family friends. It wasn't like my friend's dad or like nobody. No.
Wow. I think it seems like a lot of pilots have that initial kind of intro into being, their journey into becoming a pilot, where someone takes them up or they go on a trial flight, and that really ignites the passion in them. Like, it's really interesting to hear. And shout out to the pilots out there that just say, yeah, come and jump in and have a fly around tomorrow or whatever. That's just amazing.
Exactly, because it's such a huge opportunity when you're so small. Even if you aren't interested in flying, like, what an experience just to be able to go up, be at the front of the controls. That's so fun. Did you fly a lot when you were younger? As like, did you go back to have you been to Trinidad? Did you fly around Canada that much?
No, I haven't been to Trinidad, but I have been abroad, or I had been abroad. I've been to Hawaii. I'd been to Japan. I'd been to I definitely traveled. And I think my mom actually recently showed me a picture of myself in the 747, obviously the passenger. And but it was crazy because I think it was Toronto to Miami, which is not far at all. And I was what? They were using a 747 to go like that short of a distance, but it was back then. I was probably only like 5, so this was 99. So yeah. But yeah, no, I did fly.
So interesting.
That's so cool.
Because I think for me, I didn't have any. Well, my uncle had a PPL, so there's kind of a little bit there. But I used to fly a lot between. So I've got family in the Netherlands and family in Kenya. So we used to fly a lot between the two. So I've been on quite a few planes, and for me, just going down the jet bridge, seeing the plane, and I was like, oh, this is so exciting. And then I'd like wrestle my sister so I could sit in the window seat every single flight. And then I just had the best time on the plane. And then, then only later on, then you think, actually, could I do this as a job? Could this be something I could do? So yeah, all those experiences kind of like leave little stepping stones to where you're going to go.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm so grateful that he just was so open, as you said, Aaron, to just being like, yeah, come up, and it was just so cool. And I landed and was like, wow. I think I even like did an Instagram post and was like, I know a lot of you guys know I want to be a doctor, but a lot of you probably don't know that I've also wanted to be a pilot. And I think I said, like, now I have to like think about what I want to do. And that's also why I was being waitlisted. So it all like works out, as it's supposed to. And it was, it's pretty cool thinking about it now. That was in 2019. So that's 5 years ago.
Yeah. That's wow. I've been meaning to go back to like the initial flight school where I had like my trial flight in a couple of hours near to where I live and see if the instructor's still around and just be like, remember when you took me up and you said, oh, there's some programs where you can actually get into the airlines, you should have a look at this. He sent me some websites and stuff and here I am, like it was because of you.
Where did you train?
That's it.
So I did my kind of formal training at Oxford, but I'd done a few hours in a small airfield close to where I live it's called Clacton Airfield. So south to the east of, southeast of the UK.
Okay.
So yeah, I did not many, like maybe 5 hours. But yeah, it was the instructor there that kind of pushed me forwards and said, hey, here's the programs that you should try to sign up for if you're really serious about becoming a pilot. So yeah, maybe I'll give it a visit when I go back.
You absolutely should. I think it's nice because I even in high school, I had some great teachers in university, and I actually messaged some of them over the years just to update them. And when I went back to Vancouver, when I was in Phoenix, because it was so close, I actually went back to my high school and saw quite a few of my old teachers and told them what I was doing. And I think they really appreciate it. Like when you've taught people and you have like seen them grow or you've helped them and you've had like a bond, I think it's really nice for teachers to see like what their students are doing and how they're succeeding, because it's just cool. Because, a lot of them, they never see their students again after they stop going to that school or that flight school or what have you. So I think it's nice. So you really should.
Yeah.
That's so
definitely,
true.
for sure.
Because you think you spend 5 years in secondary school and you see these teachers every single day, then all of a sudden you just never see them again. And I'm sure they're used to it, but it must be nice just to receive an email because they must remember something.
They do,
No way, like I didn't ever see you going in that direction, or I knew you'd always make it doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Where did you train, Sydney? I don't even know.
So yeah, I trained at CAE. So I did ground school like at the Gatwick Training Center, and then was in Phoenix for CPL, Oxford Airport for MEAR, and then back at Gatwick for MCC. Okay,
because I think we were all Oxford/CAE.
Yeah.
So very briefly, how I did it, we did, and like just to let people know how it, because I don't even know how it's changed or like what the training would be now. If somebody asked me now, what do you have to do to become a pilot? I'd only be able to go back to what I know. So very quickly, I did, so Oxford, 6 months of ground school. Then we went to Phoenix. We came back with our CPL IR after 6 months. No, not CPL IR. CPL. Then we came back to Oxford, did the IR, and then you had your frozen ATPL. Is that right?
Yeah, did you probably do a few sims, right? On the 737 maybe?
Say that again?
Did you do a few simulators, like on the 737, like an initial...
MCC?
Jet?
MCC and JOC, that's it. On the 737, that was it. Yeah.
It's not that much it's not dissimilar to what I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But you say you did some in Gatwick before you went to Oxford?
So our ground school was done at the Gatwick Training Center. They moved it from like the Oxford ground school where that used to be.
Okay, yeah.
And now like where the sims are and where a lot of the airlines are and stuff, there's classrooms there, and we were actually based there, which was cool because
cool.
You get to see pilots and sometimes chat with pilots there, different airlines, and you're kind of more like in it, So no, it was great, and that was about. They made it instead of 6 months and having it in 2 phases because they found that it was a bit much. They split it into 3 phases that were like 11 weeks each. Yeah. So that was better. It was easier. We had like 3 subjects, and then 5 and 5 to do like the 13 ATPLs.
Okay.
And then we were in Phoenix.
That's much more manageable.
Much more manageable, because when we did it, it was, what was it, 6 and 7
I
just found it's just intense. Just so intense. It was just so much information. That was it.
It's too much. So we had it in 3 phases. That was about 9 months. And then we were in Phoenix. We're supposed to be there for 9 months, but we were there for a little bit over a year. But I actually loved it. I loved living in Phoenix so much that I didn't even mind that, we weren't necessarily on the timeline. I was like, I don't want to go back to the UK, so I didn't mind.
Yeah. And was that because that there was aircraft issues or technical issues, or like?
It was a combination of things. We had, I think the first set of delays was because of ATC. We were supposed to be doing night flights, and just as we were getting started, they went like short-staffed and were like, we're shutting the tower at 5 p.m. And we were like, oh, well, we can't do night flights. So that was like, gosh, maybe like at least a month of like unable to do that. And then there was a microburst that like got rid of about 11 of the aircraft. I mean, we had, I think, 70 something, but it destroyed like 11 aircraft. Yep. They got ripped out from the chains and thrown into the air and crashed back on the ground. So obviously no one was injured. It was overnight, but
still.
And that obviously we had so many, but it still affects operations a little bit. And then we had an instructor shortage because a bunch of them went off to the airlines, and instead of it being like a smaller ratio of students to instructors, it was a much larger ratio. So we were unable to fly as often. So there was a combination of things. But it seems that that's just life. Like that's just, especially flight schools, that's just how it goes.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much, because I think they're probably on such a tight schedule anyway, and the hours are so tight. It doesn't take much for one little thing, and like weather, there's not much we can do about that. ATC, not much you can do about that. And like for your night rating, that's the specific part of your license that we need.
Yeah.
So you can't just skip past that. We need to do the night rating. But how many hours was the night rating? It wasn't that many. We just had to do a couple of night landings, wasn't it?
I can't even remember how many hours.
That counts as the night.
Yeah, I can't even remember how many hours. I just remember that we had a few. Oh, it really wasn't much. I think we had like one dual flight and a nav flight, dual, and then we had solo. We had to do 5 takeoff and landings. So we did them over like 2 flights. Yeah, pretty much. It wasn't many hours, but yeah. And then after Phoenix, MEIR was about 5 weeks. Did that at Oxford. I did that on the Seneca. Yeah, because in Phoenix, I was on the Archer, so I was Piper the whole way. So Archer for single engine, then CPL was on the Seminole, and then the MEIR was on the Seneca. And then when that finished, pretty much went right into MCC on, the 737 NG. And that was about 3 weeks.
I wonder if they've got new 737 sims at Oxford, or at CAE, or if they're still the old. Because I remember when we flew them, they were old ones with like dials and stuff. So
no, ours were
NG, the new gen ones, didn't they?
Yeah, so that was also at Gatwick, like at the Sim Center. I think now though they're mostly trying to put people on Airbus, for obvious reasons with like partnerships and stuff. But I also am so glad I've had people at my airline be like, "Oh, like were you not disappointed that you weren't on the 320?" And I'm like, no, because now I can compare. Obviously, it's not the same as like having a job and flying the 7.3, but just from an introductory standpoint, it's so nice to actually see the difference and see like what are the pros, what are the cons. Although now that I'm in Airbus, I'm like mostly pros. But like, I'm like in fairness. Yeah, exactly. And at first I was like, the thrust levers don't move. I don't like that. Now I'm like, like this is cool, But no, I'm really glad I got to be on the 7.3. It's really good. Good to have seen it. It's definitely different to handle. You need a lot more, even when it's trimmed, you're really like using more force on the control column. Whereas if you go to Airbus after, you have to be careful because you're more dainty with it. But the 7.3, you're literally handling that aircraft, Which some people say it's better. Some people say it's like, it's more fun to fly it because you feel like you're actually flying a real aircraft. But But
I feel like if I've disconnected the autopilot and the autothrust, I'm still flying a real aircraft.
Yeah.
But maybe we have to get a Boeing pilot's view on this.
Yeah.
And
maybe
compare.
Podcast talk.
There we go.
Right?
There we go.
I know a lot of the ex-Boeing pilots that I've spoken to said, there's more feedback in the controls, and also the trainers, especially, they can actually feel what student pilots are doing. So they can give more feedback. Whereas with Airbus, there's no feedback for the trainers or even for just captains. Understanding what the other pilot's doing.
I suppose if we just explain very quickly what we mean by like feedback. So in an Airbus, we have the side sticks. So if I'm flying in the left-hand seat and I'm moving the side stick, let's say, for example, Sydney, you're in the right-hand seat, your side stick isn't going to move. Obviously, on the flight display, you'll see how I'm moving my side stick, but you're not going to get any feedback. And same again with the thrust levers. Once we set them for the takeoff and for the climb and for cruise, they're just set in one
detent.
Yeah, position. Yeah.
Thank you. And they will still move as needed, but they're just set in that climb detent, and then the autothrust will take over. But I think Boeing pilots, correct me if I'm wrong, the control column moves.
Yeah.
So if I pull back on the control column, both control columns move, so you can see what we're both doing. It's almost like if you're doing a driving lesson and the instructor's got dual controls.
Yeah, that's true.
They've got the feedback to be able to see if you pulled back too much. If I make an input on the side stick, then it's going to make an input. Sorry, on the control column, it's going to make an input on yours. So I suppose, pros and cons for both. I'd imagine if you're like a new pilot, maybe Sydney, when you're going through line training, and like if you could feel like how much you need to pull back for the rotation for the landing, or how much you need to pull back for the rotation for the takeoff, you get that feel as just like another sense. But then I suppose it all comes, but I suppose just as another way to build up experience level and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I've explained that well.
You did. No, you did. I mean, that was very eloquently explained. Good job.
Oh, there you go. Good.
But yeah, no, it is different. It's a completely different philosophy too between the two manufacturers with kind of the who's in control of the aircraft or the pilot, and like how much leeway do we want the pilot to have with what the aircraft's doing. So there's no right or wrong. It really depends on personal preference, and I think the situation that you're in. But
yeah, true. And most people don't get the benefit, I suppose, of flying a Boeing and flying an Airbus enough to be able to compare. Because for me, Airbus works completely fine. It's what I'm used to, and I'm sure if I flew a Boeing, I think some of these things are a bit strange, or like there's no need for that. But then you could do it on the flip side as well.
Yeah. But I mean, let's just be real here. No one can argue the fact that a control column is bulky and you have no table and there's nowhere to put your leg and you're just sat there. Like that to me, like short haul bad enough, but long haul doing that, I honestly don't get it.
I think mic drop moment. Boeing pilots, you've got nothing. There we go. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Airbus is the best.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, we might be a little biased, just a little bit, but whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Aaron, what would you do on a 380 on a 16-hour flight to LA? If you didn't have a table. No, if you didn't have a table.
Oh, sorry. If I didn't have a table, it'd be problems. Like, how am I going to eat the food that's coming from first class? They put it on a tray, a plate.
Where are you going to put your napkin?
Yeah.
Exactly. No, just not happening.
Yeah, wild.
No.
Okay, so you finished your multi-engine instrument rating, MEIR.
Yeah.
And then you went to the 737 and did your sims.
Yeah.
How long did that take you from starting at CAA to finishing?
Well, it's supposed to take 24 months maximum.
Okay.
But it took about 30. It took about 2.5 years.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I suppose people should expect, as much as the timeline says 24 months, like once you get flying and there's weather or there's other bits and pieces, you've got to have a little bit of leeway and not to get too disappointed, because it's not a personal thing, and it's frustrating, but it's frustrating for everyone that's in that situation. And that's just get used to delays.
Yeah,
if you're getting into aviation,
I think it's a massive thing in aviation to be like very resilient, especially as a pilot. Things are going to happen over the course of your career. There's going to be ups and downs in the industry, and that's going to have effects on you. It could be small things, it could be big things, it could be during training, it could be during your life as a line pilot. But the trick is to try and stay resilient, try and stay positive, and even though, like you said, it kind of lasted a little longer than you expected, you're probably going to look back at some point and be like, you know what, it was actually quite nice to have a little bit extra time.
What I will say on that is that even though there were delays and it was, frustrating at times, the actual quality of the training I had was good. It was really good.
There you go.
So
that's good.
It got me to the job that I'm in now. So it's all worth it. As long as it gets you to your destination, like literally and figuratively, then check, accomplished. You did what you set out to do, and they did what they set out to do, which is get you from zero to airline ready, which they did. So in fairness, you
just got to kind of control the controllables, right? Control the stuff that you can, and everything else, just
that is something that is, I'm like a little type A for that, but it's something that I've been really learning throughout my life, but especially in the last 2 years, it's something that I have to work on, is just kind of not, doing what I can to move things along, but then also knowing when okay, even I can't do anything, and instead of getting frustrated or bothered, just to kind of literally let it be. But I think that's just something, I think a lot of pilots, that we all have certain personality traits, we are very organized, we are very much timeline and set this goal and achieve it and on to the next, and that's kind of who we are though anyway, so it's a little bit hard for pilots to let go. We're not programmed that way.
It's true. I suppose,
but go on.
As you start flying out of Gatwick, in and out of Gatwick, you'll find, I'm sure there's another storm coming that's around the corner that's going to give us, there will be, we'll have snow in March, something like that, something completely unexpected.
Yeah.
And then trying to just manage everyone, dealing with the passengers, dealing with the ground staff, and it gets to a point where there's only so much you can do, because we've all been up since 3:30 in the morning, we've all been sat on the ground for 4 hours. Let's just think about what we can do, and then the rest, you'll just have to
let it be.
Let it go. Let it be.
Yeah, and I think you'll see that when you fly with different captains, you'll see the differences in how people deal with that kind of stuff. Because I never forget, you fly with some captains, there'll be delays, there'll be, for whatever reason, weather or passenger delays or something, and we'll do everything that we can do within our power. And then there comes a point where you can't really do anything else. We just have to wait on something. And some captains will sit there and be like, that's it. We'll just chill. We'll wait, done all we can. And then we just chill. Or there'll be guys, oh my God, we're going to be late. What's the time? Oh, we're going to be back late now. We're going to be home so late. Oh, what are we going to do? Maybe we could fly faster or do that. I'm like, well, let's just down. You're taking some years off your life right now. Let's just
exactly.
Absolutely. Your blood sugar's going up. Be careful.
Your blood sugar's going up. You'll be okay. Because there will be moments in the aviation career where you need to rush, or you need to hustle. Well, hopefully not.
Absolutely.
But when those moments come, you'll know about it. The rest, when you're on the ground, deep breath, have a sip of your peppermint tea, have a little biscuit.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know which biscuits you're talking about. Those are good.
Really good.
Those are good.
There you go. It's small wins.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Small wins.
Yeah.
Okay. How's your type rating?
Type rating was so cool. It was really intense, and I had a degree that was intense, the biochemistry degree I did, 4 years. It was intense. So I was well equipped to deal with intense, learning and studying and training. But that was really tough because we had, my start date was September 23rd, and my LST, which is your, already forgot what this stands for. Is it line skills test or something? Or anyway, it's basically the final check, was the 31st of October. So that's 5 weeks? and you're going from theoretically not knowing anything about Airbus to being ready to fly it. So it's a really intense period. And I'd say the ground school part was about 2 weeks. And I mean, that the FCOM and all, they're like 5,000 pages. Now, I know you're not expected to know everything, but you kind of are, like in like an overview level. And so just the amount of computer-based training and videos and studying and practicing we had to do in 2 weeks. Like, I was having a time how long I was gonna have a shower. I'd be like, okay, I have 8 minutes to have a shower, and then I go back to studying. Like, it was intense. Like, it can't be 9 minutes, it has to be 8, because I gotta get back to studying, you know? Like, so it was intense, but it was really good. And the sims obviously were more fun than the ground school part. And I had some amazing instructors, like some that were ex from the airline that I fly for, some that currently fly for the airline that I'm with, and just so knowledgeable, so helpful, such good guidance, really nice individuals. Like, I had a really good time, and I had a great partner. I didn't know him before, but we worked really well together, and it was really fun. Yeah.
That always helps when you have a good partner. Did you have any like training techniques throughout any of your like training? Did you have any techniques to like learning? Because obviously it's a lot of information. Did you have any techniques that you came in with, and did they work, or did they change, or how did you manage all that like learning?
Okay, so for ground training, so I'm a visual learner, like very visual, and I also write like really nice notes, and I do like schematics and stuff, and I use color highlighters. So I would often take notes, but the problem with taking notes is sometimes people don't know like how much to take, how little to take. The whole point of notes is you're supposed to try to summarize, so you're not supposed to write everything. So it can be tricky when you're learning a subject and you don't actually know what's important. But I found that like trying to take notes and drawing like arrows and using like visuals to help me was really useful, because I don't have a photographic memory. I wish I did, but I have like not a mini one, but sometimes if I look at things enough, like my own notes with colors and flows, I can almost like keep it in my head. So on a test, I can try to like pull that image and look at it and find an answer-ish. So that helped me a lot. And then I'd say for actual and practice, like practice questions and banks and all that stuff, do that. It actually makes you know if it allows you to figure out if you actually understand something or if you just have remembered it, because it's a big difference. And then I'd say for the practical, like for anyone that's training, personally, after a flight or after a sim, I'd get feedback, and I would also like write it down, because it's one thing if someone's telling you like, oh, you know, you need to like scan more, you need to do this more, and you're like, okay, yeah, you're not going to remember that even the next day. So I would write down like the mistakes that I knew I made. Oh, I forgot to do this flow properly, or I forgot to do this, or I didn't correct for center line as quickly as I should have, or whatever it is. I would write it down. And then I would look at it the next day, like right before the sim, to keep that in the front of my mind for like what to try to improve on. And then it was also good because over so many sessions of flying or a sim, you'd be able to actually look and go, oh, I keep making that same mistake. Or, oh, I made it once, I never made it again. So I would definitely record like what you've done well, but also what you need to improve on after each session, but like do it like almost right away so you don't forget.
That's so important. To take real ownership of your own learning, because you could almost just go into the sim, the instructor will tell me what I need to do, and then that's fine. But then like you said, they're probably going to give you so many pointers and tips throughout the sim. You may remember some, you may not remember others. But I think it is important as a pilot that there's so much information that we need to learn, but just taking time for yourself to learn, to know which bits you're good at, how best that you learn, and the mistakes that you make, because we're all going to make little mistakes along the way, how best to avoid those in the future. And if you make them in the simulator, not a big deal, and that's why we have simulators, so you can make the mistakes, you can go through any like difficulties that you're having, so that when we get into the real world, those mistakes, you think, oh, I normally forget this, so what I'm going to like, you train your brain to remind you to not do that.
Absolutely.
So I think it's so important. Like we have to be so disciplined with that, and you have to take ownership of your own learning, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And there's no pause button in the aeroplane.
No.
So you've really got to switch those parts of your brain on, and then take a breath once you're on the ground.
Yeah, I think that's a big one too. I should actually add that like if your flight's not going as well, because we've all had those flights where it feels like everything's just not really going to plan, and you're like, but I did this yesterday, or I know how to do this. I'm like, why can't I do whatever it is you're doing? And it's like frustrating, but I think, and it's easier said than done, but I think it's really important if you've done one thing and it's not really gone to plan. I know it's hard, but you got to shelve it. Focus on the next thing, because it's not just for your own like well-being and trying to improve, but it's also for the safety of the flight. Is you can't just like shut down and be like, I can't do this. Like you are responsible for getting that aircraft on the ground safely, whether it's a small little Piper with your instructor or a passenger jet. You have to kind of stay disciplined and focused. So it's just kind of like moving on from the thing that didn't go that well, worrying about the next thing, and then when you're on the ground, then you can discuss it and try to learn from it.
Exactly. Because I think, like, for us, if whatever happens on the takeoff or in the climb, if you forget something and like you're really annoyed, you can't be annoyed for the next 3 hours an hour, and you can't be annoyed for the next 15 hours.
Absolutely not.
Again, your blood pressure is going to go up. That's stressful.
Yeah.
But that's the time also, like, do a little review. What did I do? What can I stop doing that? How can I stop doing that again?
Yeah.
Ask the person that you're flying with, like, was it as bad as I think it is? And they're probably, oh, no, it's fine. You're like, oh, okay, maybe we see things differently, because, again, we've got high standards for ourselves.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think also there's some instances, like, for example, some landings will be harder than you want them to be. They're still fine. They're still safe. But, them landings where you land, you're like, what?
You're like, wow.
You could discuss them afterwards, say,
well. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's gone like really well on the whole flight. And then it comes to the landing and you're just like, and you're like, oh, really? But you can reflect on it afterwards. You get to the gate, passengers are getting off, you reflect on it. Did I do anything wrong? Is there something that caused it? And if at the end you come up with, everything was kind of right, just something out of my control happened.
Yeah.
Then you've got to just kind of park it and be like, have the confidence to be like, I've landed this thing so many times. It was just a one-off.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Which is a lot easier to do kind of when you're doing short haul and you're doing flights every week. But it magnifies it even more when you're doing, like for us, for example, I do like one flight a month sometimes, like one landing a month. So you do that one landing and then it's a hard, and not the best landing. And you're like, and I've got a month to think about it until the next land.
You could really like ruminate on that and just like
you could
start to feel a lack of confidence and not be able to address it. Because as you said, it's like short haul, it's easy. Like I think I had a flight a week ago where my first landing wasn't that good. Flare was okay, but I was like off center line like quite a lot, and I was like, wow, that was not very good. And then the next one on the way back, captain was like, you can do it as well. And I did the landing and it was great. It was awesome. So like within, a few hours, I was able to like rectify it. But yeah, I can't imagine having a whole month or a few weeks off until your next one. Cause it's great.
Yeah, it does play on your mind, but I guess you just have to kind of, again, if there's something that you did wrong, then write it down or just remember it for the next flight and be like, oh yeah, I was not as completely stable at 1,500 feet or whatever it was, and that we were coming in fast and my brain was still thinking about what happened 5 seconds ago and that caused this to happen, so don't do that next flight. Or it was just a wind change and it was something that I couldn't really change, so whatever, let it go. I've landed this thing enough times, I know how to do it.
I was going to say, I wonder though, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but does it get any less, do you put any less pressure on yourself the longer you've been in the job? Or is it almost like you actually put more pressure on yourself because then you think, well, I should know how to do this. So when you don't have good landings, you're more annoyed with yourself? Or I guess maybe it depends on the person.
I feel like I know what Aaron's going to say.
Listen, I'm a very horizontal person. I'm not really bothered. But no, honestly, for me, the more pressure for me is if I'm flying with someone that I know and is my friend. If I'm flying with Michelle, I'm like, come on, I've got to nail this landing, because come on, we can't be,
embarrassing ourselves in front of our friends now.
Yeah, exactly. I know how to do this, and then you have a hard landing, and it's just like, really, I had to do this today. So yeah, but to be honest, I don't think it may have bothered me more initially, yes, but generally, I mean, I think coming from maybe because I came from more of a sporting background, we kind of are kind of trained to think of the current situation or what's ahead and try and forget what just happened. I play basketball a lot. Oh, you missed 3 shots in a row. Don't think about missing a shot because then you're going to miss the next one. You just forget about it and think,
no.
I make 1 million shots, so the next one's going in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
what about you, Michelle?
What about you, Michelle?
Oh, no, I think the more experience I've got, probably the more chilled I've got. Because obviously there's a line between like being confident and like just being complacent.
Yeah.
And for me, obviously I want every landing to be a great landing. And that's what I'm striving for every day. So I'll do everything I can. But if a landing is slightly harder or not the perfect landing judged by maybe a passenger, if my landing is safe, then, you know, if I'm at the right speed, I'm on the center line, I'm in the touchdown zone, for me, it's a tick.
Yeah.
If I'm not doing any of those things, then I probably won't land. I'll go around and I'll come and do it again. And again, that's fine because that's a safer decision. So I think for me, my brain doesn't, again, I don't dwell on those things. So I'm not going to really kick myself for doing those things because I know that I've done everything that I can up until that point to not get in that situation. But I think, aviation is one of those things that with your experience, obviously comes a lot of confidence. And I remember when I was doing one of my flights in the sim, when I'd just come back from maternity leave and I landed it, and the trainer was like, "Oh, how did you think that went?" And I was like, to be honest, I couldn't tell you what I did because now, like having flown for almost 14 years, it's just a feeling. I couldn't tell you at what point did I flare or at what point did I, you know, put the rudder in to get on the center line. It's just a feeling. So, I think again, I try to be. I'm probably not as horizontal as Aaron, but I try to be as horizontal as possible, and I'll deal with things in the moment as they happen. But I'm not gonna stress myself out.
Yeah.
And I'm probably a little bit easier as a captain than as a first officer. So probably I know when I should worry and when not to worry, and I try not to worry as much. So
yeah, I feel like it could go 2 ways. It's either like the two of you, where as you gain more experience, you start to become a little bit more relaxed and know that you've had bad landings before and it's just another bad one. What's the big deal? Like, as you said, as long as it's safe, who cares? And then I feel like you could have the opposite, where the more experience you get, the more you put a high pressure on yourself that you should always be good. And I'm worried that could be me just based on my personality type. So I'm already trying, even now as a new first officer, just to have a little bit more grace with myself and be like, I literally just started. Like, it's okay if my landings aren't all good. It's impossible that they're all going to be good anyway. And I'm new, so like kind of relax. But yeah, I just hope that as I continue and as I gain more experience, if, you know, randomly I have a bad landing, I'm not like, well, you should know better by now. You know, like I hope that I can be kind of like you two, a little bit more like relaxed about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, I think it was like 3 years in, maybe 3, maybe 4, because COVID came in the middle of like my time flying short haul. But it was like 3 years in where I just felt something click, and I'm like, every landing is just. Obviously, you still get the odd one or two. You're just like, that wasn't what I was expecting. That wasn't the flight that I'm used to. But but you know, I think you get to a point where you just, I know how to do this now. Like it really clicks like every time. But like I was listening to another podcast the other day. It's like again, it was about basketball and about scoring and how to stay confident. And it was basically saying if you're a 75% shooter, then if you've missed 25 shots, then your next 75 are kind of going to go in because you're still a 75% shooter. Just because you've missed 25 of your last shots, that just means the next 75 are going to go in. So if 9 times out of 10 you land the plane amazingly and you have one not so great landing, it's like, well, the next 9 are going to be great. So
totally. Exactly. So I think it's great to have high standards for yourself. I think most pilots do. And obviously every pilot goes into work, sim, whatever, hoping that landing will be the perfect landing. But again, the nature of life and the nature of flying is there's going to be failures, mistakes, those kind of things on the way. And that's probably the thing to like focus on how you're going to deal with that more than getting everything right.
Yeah, that's
because
great.
that will come, as you get more experience, that will come. But those like failures and stuff, it's always going to be there, whether it's if you're doing a PA to the passengers and you make a mistake and you say something wrong, right, how are we going to rectify that? If you give them the wrong information, if you say something wrong to ATC, like these little things are always going to come. So having like a framework of how you're going to deal with those, I think that's very important. And Sydney, like you were saying, it'll be really interesting to see, like 15th of January 2026, how you feel about being so hard on yourself, or like so wanting to be so on it. Because I think obviously you still will want to be, but maybe you would have learned a way to kind of navigate that so it doesn't cause too much stress or too much. Not that you're saying you're stressful.
No, you're right.
Not that you're stressed, but just
you're
ways
absolutely
that
right.
You've learned to manage how you are as a person in your career.
Yeah, that all comes back to, because I've been kind of exploring this a lot in the last couple months, but trying to figure out like why I'm this way. And I think it goes back to, honestly, like medical school, you need to be that like 0.1%. Like you need like a perfect GPA. You need like extracurriculars, because I did sports as well. You need to volunteer. Like you need to be perfect. And I think I was conditioned to being that way for so many years. All like by my own choice. It wasn't parents or wasn't outside pressures. It was me like wanting to do that and wanting to get into medical school and these dreams and goals I had for myself. But it meant that I had to be that kind of person. And don't get me wrong, like I had a great time in university. I let loose and I had fun as well. But I was very much like super like into that high achieving, almost like perfectionistic mentality. And that just like never really went away. And I didn't even really realize it in flight school until I started getting like way more stressed about things that like most people could probably have just kind of let go. And I realized like, okay, could become an issue if I'm not careful. So even going into flight training, type rating, now with line training, it's like trying to just be a little bit chancellor and be like, okay, that's a learning experience and nothing more, nothing less. Just don't beat yourself up and it's all good.
Yeah. And I don't think in the history of flying, there's ever been pilots that have done a perfect flight,
Yeah.
There's always something, even if it's a small little thing. Oh, I didn't turn the landing lights off
or something,
the altitude I was supposed to. Something like that. But there's never been a perfect flight. So, that's why there's two of us at the flight deck at the end of the day. So if one of us misses something or one of us forgets something, the other one's there to help. So, just your heart at yourself.
Totally. Yeah, I'm getting better.
Cool. No, that's good. It's good that you recognize it.
You said you did sports before. What sports did you do?
Yeah, quite a few. I did gymnastics, and I did competitive cheerleading, which is a thing in North America.
Nice.
I know the UK is probably like, what? But like, it's a thing.
We've all seen Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders on Netflix.
Yeah. We were more like competitive cheerleading where they're throwing people in the air and doing like tumbling and like that kind of stuff.
There's definitely been another Netflix documentary.
It's more like that.
Yeah.
So did that, and then I switched to athletics, so track and field. So I did in university. I did high jump.
Oh, fun!
Yeah.
Okay.
So
cool.
Yeah, I know you did basketball. Did you,
Michelle,
Michelle,
a good
do
background.
anything?
I used to play a lot of tennis, and then before I had my little one, played a lot of netball.
Oh,
but
cool.
For me, team sports is always, it's in the blood.
Yeah.
It's in the blood. And even for my little one, like, he's already kicking a ball around, trying to throw stuff. So I think team sports is a great way to learn. Yeah, so cute. It's a great way to learn about teamwork, leadership, all those kind of things that you need as a pilot, dealing with a failure. If you don't win the match, right, what we're going to do next time, not dwelling on those kind of things.
Resilience.
So, all those resilience. Yeah. All those little skills. I think so.
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool. So let's bring it back. Base training.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Base training. I mean, everyone says it's great, but it was just, you know what actually the biggest surprise about base training was, is I thought that I would be like, not panicking, but like getting into the cockpit, sitting down and going like nervous. I was so calm. I was,
oh no.
I kept thinking like, well, when am I going to start to get nervous? I was never nervous. I felt so calm. I think the training captains we had were amazing, but also I guess it was like, which is nice. I guess it was just a confidence that I've been trained to do this and I know how to do this. And that's why we have a training captain and a safety pilot. If I do something dumb, well, they're there. So like, let's just have fun. So I actually had so much fun, and it was a really calm, enjoyable day. It wasn't as nerve-wracking as I thought.
So good. Yeah. And just in case people didn't know, so base training is basically the first time that you sit behind the actual controls, you go into a jet, and you basically do circuits, right? So there was was there a few other
passengers,
empty aircraft,
other cadets in the same situation as you, training captain, a safety pilot. You go to maybe a smaller, I remember going to Doncaster, so a smaller airfield, somewhere near wherever you're going to be based, or wherever. And then you just do, for us it was 6 takeoff and landings. And you just do circuits. Yeah, and a go around. You just go round and round and round. And I remember that, I still remember that day, like everything was just coming at you so quickly, because it doesn't take long for you to do a circuit. And just while you're trying to process what you've just done on a takeoff, so okay, now I've got to do a landing. And then as soon as you've touched down, taking off again. So like I remember so much going on, but it was so fun.
It was so cool. I mean, there were 5 of us. There were 2 guys that hadn't been able to go on their turn, because initially I wanted to go first just to like get it out of the way. But I obviously was like, no, you guys go first. So I went third, and we refueled after me. So when I went, the aircraft was actually really light. I think on my last landing, it was like 46 tons or something. So it was really light. So even like throughout this, and I actually ended up having to do an extra one just because one of my landings was just meth. So I did an extra one. So by the last, so I did 7 and the go around. And and for people who are about to do base training, don't feel bad if you have to do another one. It's really not a big deal.
I did more. That's fine.
Yeah. On my last one, I think even the flare, I was trying to, I flared, and because it was so light, we almost took off again. We didn't, but it was just it was so light, because I think we started at, I don't even know, 58 tons. Well, maybe not 58, but 50 something. And then ended up being 47 tons. So, but no, it was just so cool. And we went to Prestwick. We were supposed to go to, they always started off at Teesside, but the weather was not looking very good. So we went to Prestwick, and it was nice. It was sunny, and it was just so cool. I remember getting in there, and Mark, the captain, was like, okay, are you ready? And I was just like, yeah. And I felt like I'd been in there before, even though I hadn't, because I know the sim looks obviously similar, but now it's 3-dimensional, and you're not looking at a graphics of and you're looking outside, and there's actually 3-dimensional. But I felt like I'd just been in there before. It was cool. It's really cool.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
You had to do base training on the 380, didn't you? That must have been pretty cool.
Honestly.
Oh, yeah. I want to know about that.
So I did the 320 base training. I can't remember how long, 7 years ago. And I'll never forget the instructors were like, have fun, because this is the last time you'll ever get to do base training.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then I came out here and said, yeah, you're going to do base training on the 380. And I'm like, what? This is so cool.
What's the weight of an empty 380? You probably needed 46 tons of fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't even remember how light we were with no passengers, and because we never even it's not even a thing that we do now. I'll have to look it up roughly how much we were, but I think there was 5 of us. No, there's 4 of us. So we went to an airfield pretty close by to our home base. I think we had to do 3 each. We could do an extra one if they needed us to, but yeah, it was pretty it was a pretty cool moment,
Well, I mean, obviously it's the same type of, I know it's bigger, but it's Airbus. It's still the same type of aircraft. So what differences are not that many?
I mean, it's scarily similar to a 320.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, I mean, it really is like flying. It sounds so stupid to say, but it flies like a big 320.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the way it handles the only real difference is the side stick is very like the wing is so big that you make a movement on the side stick and then you wait, see what the aircraft does, and then okay, do I need to do a little bit more, a little bit less?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas I think with the 320, it's a little more immediate feedback. As soon as you kind of put it to the left, the right, up and down, you actually feel it almost immediately start to move.
Yeah.
Whereas the 380, you kind of have to put it somewhere, let go, see what it does, and then okay, make another little adjustment. You have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, it flies very similar to the 320. The speeds are pretty much the same as well. So it's still a Category C aircraft, so approach speeds are very similar.
Yeah.
Obviously
the main wild.
Wait, how's that category?
It's crazy.
Oh, okay, because of
wild.
Because it's based on your approach speed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's based on the approach speed. Yeah, so we're still Category C. So yeah, we're doing on base training, 130, 140 knots or something. On finals. So,
in my head, I'm like, no, please go faster.
Yeah, I was thinking, I would be thinking you'd be like, yeah, definitely category D.
You're gonna fall out the sky.
I mean, the wing is just so big. That's the thing.
Huge,
the wing is it's wider than it is long. So, the wing is massive. So that's what it,
like
the
depth of it.
Yeah, it just really, really wants to fly. The biggest thing with the 380, which I think I've said it before, is on the ground. And also the landing as well, because you really want to nail the center line because there's not much leeway either side. Before normally the outer pylons so the outer engines are going to be over the grass on some runways. And it's not very far before the inner ones then could go over the edge of the runway, and they're a lot lower than the outer ones as well.
Yeah.
And then also the gear is not very far from the edge of the runway as well. So
true.
It's really crazy. Yeah, it's really crazy.
So when's your next flight? How many flights have you done so far?
I have done, I think, 18 sectors.
Oh,
and
nice.
I have a flight. So today is Wednesday, right? Yeah, Wednesday. Now that I'm in aviation, I never know what day of the week it is. So.
Yep.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. So Wednesday. So I'm flying Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I'm in my days off right now, and scheduled to go to Athens on Friday, which I'm really looking forward to.
And are you doing early? So have you had a few early shifts, a few late shifts? Any that you prefer?
I will eventually bid for earlies. Right now I'm just letting them schedule me as they wish. And it's mostly earlies, or luckily some just kind of normal, like starting at 10 or 11 or what have you. 1 in the afternoon. I have had only really like one flight that was supposed to finish at 11:30 or get back to Gatwick at 11:30 in the evening. But that was also the day that there was like bad weather and we were delayed like 4 hours or something. And there were like 70 of us in the crew room. And didn't land until like 2:58 in the morning or something. So that was wild. I didn't go to bed till 4, and I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
At all. So I will be bidding for earlies.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you there then.
Yay!
I'm an early person as well, 100%. That's for me. Let's get up, get the day done, and then we can just chill at home. I'm much, much better early in the morning.
Yeah.
I think by 9 o'clock I'm ready for bed.
Yeah. I mean, I think as you get more into the role and you start to do those really early mornings, you'll start to get used to it. I have no issue waking up, even if I didn't sleep that well. Once the alarm goes off at 3:30 or what have you, like I'm awake, I never snooze anyway, so I'm just fine. I have a hard time falling asleep really early if I'm not tired.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I can't just go, well, I'm going to try to go to bed at 9 and let's just fall asleep. Like, I'll be up till 11 if I'm not tired. And then like, I have to be up at 3.
I don't have that problem.
But you're a mom now, so you're probably tired all the time.
Yeah, but even before that, I'll go to bed at 8:30. I'll see you later and I'll be asleep by 8:35.
I wish. I think maybe after a few, you get into the cycle of it, so that's okay. But like that first night, even maybe the second, I can't force myself to go to bed at 8. It's just never going to happen. I'll just lie there frustrated that I can't sleep yet. So I'd almost rather go to bed a bit later.
Yeah.
It's so tough.
What about really you, Aaron? Earlies or late?
No, I was the same. Like, I mean, I prefer earlies because working during the morning is so much better. You get home kind of lunchtime.
Yeah.
At least when I was doing short haul, you get home lunchtime and then I have the rest of the day to do stuff. I used to play basketball and obviously the trainings were in the evenings and stuff. So that worked perfectly for me. But I'm a night person. Like, I'm up till late. Like, I don't know whether I used to be a DJ, so maybe that's it. I'm not sure. But
probably.
I'm just, I don't know. But mornings, again, like you, I don't have a problem waking up, set the alarm, it goes off and it's good. I was going to sleep is the problem.
Yes. Any tips then for me?
I mean, I don't know. It's tough.
What did you do to try to get yourself to sleep?
I mean, I used to try and go to the gym regularly because if I just went and worked, came back and just chilled in the afternoon, then that would be the time where I wouldn't be able to fall asleep. So I had to actually do something physical to like tire myself out. Now it's a bit different because I generally I don't do like 5 days working and 3 or 4 days off and stuff like that. But some of the wake ups that I have to do now are like 10 p.m. at night. So I have to be up at 10 p.m. and then go for a 15-hour flight. So that's a bit weird, which means that I have to try and fall asleep like maybe 5 p.m. or something.
Oh my
4 p.m.
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. So I try and like gradually either go to sleep a little earlier the night before or I just extend one of the days for an extra like 6 hours or something.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. It's all about what kind of works for you. But I agree with you. Like I've always been active and whether gym or run or this, but I think that, like if you exercise and stuff, it just like gives your body a little bit more like, I don't even know, it just helps with your circadian rhythm and it just helps you because then you get kind of tired from the workout and it helps you wind down a little bit. Some people can work out before bed. I don't do that. I'll do that like significantly hours before, but it just helps you. Then you have dinner and then you start to like wind down and it that first night though, I think it's tricky, but like you said, it's actually good to wake up early kind of the day before. So like if I know I have to be up at 3, 4, then the morning before, even if I don't need to, I'll try to be up at like 6-ish anyway, 7 at the latest. So that, because if you wake up at, I never wake up at 10 anyway, but even if I did, and then you try to go to bed at 8 p.m., you're not going to be tired because you've only been up for 10 hours. Like it's not going to work.
No.
So.
No way.
Yeah. That's the one thing that people don't really tell you.
Operate with a different amount of sleep,
Yeah.
So I am perfectly fine operating off like 5 hours. Like that's normal.
Me.
Yeah. I can on a one-off, no problem. Maybe even 2 days, but I couldn't just like for weeks get 5 hours of sleep. Absolutely not going to work.
Yeah.
Not for me. Not for me. Oh, one more question, I think, for me. So for somebody that's starting out flying now, what little nuggets of advice or little tips would you give them for somebody that's like in your position? Well, 30 months ago when you first when you stepped into your CAE, what bits of advice would you give them looking forward and looking at your journey so far?
Yeah, so this is actually why I have like a TikTok account. I get a lot of messages from like aspiring pilots that ask me these questions, and I've started making videos on things like applying to flight schools and how to pass the interview and what to research and things like that. But I'd say like the number one thing for someone that's considering this is really like do your research. And I don't just mean like looking up flight schools. I mean like if you're on LinkedIn, like adding pilots and like trying to network and like just asking real questions about like what the actual job is like. Because like how we were saying we watched ER as a kid and we thought that that's what a doctor was and it's actually not really what it is. People think that it's very like catch me if you can and like that lifestyle. And I'm sure there are elements of that. Well, not the things that are in the movie, but you know what I mean? Sort of aviation related. But there's a lot of mundane stuff and a lot of things that like, aren't that glamorous. And that's what makes the job. And some things it's like, it's cool, but you really need to know like what you're getting into, because it's not just your time, but this is one of the most expensive careers you could go into. I mean, other than med school, and I don't know about law school here in the States, it's expensive, but there's nothing else that's going to cost more than this. So you really need to make sure that what you think it is actually what it is. So I'd say like, it's one thing, flight schools will tell you what they want to tell you, but it's like trying to network with pilots, even if you don't know anyone, just on social media, on LinkedIn and what have you, just saying, hi, I want to go into aviation. Like, do you have any tips, or can you tell me what it's actually like? Because that will allow you to figure out if it's something that you actually want to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. That makes sense.
And then I'd also say, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, for anyone listening, what is your TikTok or Instagram handle?
Oh, it's Pilot Sydney Ray. So Sydney Sydney, and then it's my middle name, so RAE. So Pilot Sydney Ray.
Okay, sweet.
But yeah, I get a lot of messages, and it's really nice. I get a lot of people saying that they found my videos really useful, that they're now going to like go and apply to flight schools, and they have like more knowledge of what to expect. And it's really cool. Like, that's why I do it. It's just like, I love it. And I want people to feel like they have a little bit of guidance, because it can feel very overwhelming, especially if you're like 17, 18 and you don't really know anyone you don't really know like how to get started. So that's kind of why I created the account. I also get like actual pilots just saying that like they find my videos useful or interesting too. So it's really fun. It's a really nice community of people on there. But I'd also say like research, but then also before you start anything is go get a class 1 medical, because you just don't know. Like, some things can be hidden, like a little heart murmur or something that makes you inadmissible and you had no idea you had it, and you don't want to like have applied to flight school, gotten in, and then go do and find out like it's something that, you know, you should just go get the class 1, make sure that you're fit to fly. You probably will be. Then you have that peace of mind of like, okay, I can now consider this as a career.
That's so true.
That makes sense.
Because that is just another layer to being a pilot, that you have to be medically fit. And even if you can fly the plane beautifully, but you don't have a class 1, then you just can't do it. So it's one of those, maybe people don't realise that that's, you know, every year we have to go for a medical.
Yeah.
And it is part of your license. You can't have one without the other. So yeah, no, I think that's really good advice. Definitely something for people to consider moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. And just going back to, you were saying about, you know, this being one of the biggest investments of people's lives. Did you get any funding, any help, or how did you fund yourself through high school? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to be completely like transparent. Flight school costs a lot of money. I mean, in the UK alone, fees are around 100,000. That doesn't include your living expenses and while you're training, because you can't, if you're integrated, meaning you're not doing it bit by bit, you're doing like a full-time program, you can't work, or I mean, maybe like a couple hours a week, but you can't have a full-time job. It's impossible. So you are funding so you're paying $100,000 for training. You have to pay for your car and your housing and your bills and everything. And you got a budget for a good 2 years. And then some airlines make you pay the type rating, some don't. I had to for mine, you know, it's around 30,000. It's a lot of money. So I worked, as I said, I'm 30 now, so I started flight training at 27. I had been working for quite a few years. And when I actually moved to the UK in 2019, I started working, I wanted to be in sales or something where you make commission, because that's where you start to make a lot of money. And I worked in recruitment, healthcare recruitment, which also kept me ticking along in COVID because they needed healthcare professionals as well. So I was working in sales and recruitment and doing that for a few years and started to make a lot of money in commission. So I was able to save like quite a decent amount, not enough to pay for all of that, but quite a lot. And then I was really blessed to have like friends of my mom offer to lend me the rest of the money interest free.
Oh, wow.
Which was cool. Just so like, I didn't even ask. They were just asking me like how I was progressing toward my goal, and I kind of explained it to them. And then a few days later, they were like, "We want to help you, so just let us know." Amazing. And so that's why I was able to start it when I did. Or I probably would have had at least another 2 years of working to try to save up the amount. So yeah, it was half, well, not necessarily half, but like some of it was my money and then some of it was interest-free loan from like family friends.
Amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Because it's hard. Like it's really hard. If your parents can't just pay for it, like it's a lot of money.
It's a huge amount of money. Huge amount of money. But it's good to see that some airlines are starting to do funded schemes.
Yeah.
Because I think it's definitely about time because otherwise there's so many people out there that don't have access to £100,000 up front just like that, and then in 2.5 years, we need another 30,000. So many people don't have access to that, or there are people that are working for 10 years, 15 years just to save up that amount of money.
Yeah.
So I think it's great that there is funded schemes now being offered, because you're going to get some great pilots through that.
Honestly, like, I mean, as I said, I was working toward it, but I say 2 years, but then even then it's like, actually now I think of it, I'm like, probably would have been more. And then I might've just been like, you know what, I just don't think I can do this, or it's not feasible, or, and sales jobs, they're good when they're good. And when you're making commission, it's great, but it's not just like everything. You're not always on the up, right? So then if you have bad months or a different pandemic or a recession or something, and then all of a sudden now you're not making as much money and the goal is feeling further away, and then a lot of people would just give up, or they have family, they have other things, they just can't do it. And so it's kind of sad that like a lot of people just don't have that opportunity. And I'm going to be honest and say that I think for a lot of people of like different like ethnic backgrounds and, people of color as well, it seems even more far-fetched because there are less of us in the industry. And then they see how much it costs and they're just like, well, it's not for me, when it totally could be for them, So I think, as you said, the funded schemes are so good for people that thought they'd never be able to A, afford it, or B, never just thought they could see themselves in aviation.
Exactly. Because I think Aaron and I, we've spoken to a lot of young people that didn't even know that could be an option. Yeah, you've seen pilots and you like flying, but like, I could be a pilot. Yeah, of course you could. But and like you said, Sydney, about going on LinkedIn, finding like how did they fund their training? Because there's going to be people out there with lots of different ideas. Maybe somebody started their own business, or you worked you took a different career path for a couple of years to be able to get that money. I think it's not easy. It's not easy at all. But there are options out there. Yeah, there are options out there. I don't want to say it's easy because it's definitely not. And it's a huge amount of money. But it is possible if you find that one person that can help you, or that one person that can spark a different idea that you didn't have. So definitely reaching out to people can open up a lot of doors, and the different paths to get to where you want to go to.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to be transparent about how much it costs, because a lot of websites, it's kind of hidden. People don't really talk about it. There's numbers that get thrown out there. So I have no qualms with saying, the training is about 100 grand or 90 grand or this, and this is, it's going to be an extra this, and you're probably going to need this much for your living expenses. And then if you want a car and you want this, it's probably going to be another. So it's like, because you need to know what you're getting yourself into before you start.
Yeah.
And every pilot has had, whether you've been given the money, whether you've had to earn every penny yourself, you've had to give a training school up to like £100,000. So it's just about how did you get to that point that you're able to hand over that money? Yeah, gosh, it's so, even now, like £100,000.
I know,
it's a lot of money.
It's insane. I mean, I guess the one good thing is that the earning potential is high, because there's a lot of, because you can do a degree in the States in English literature. Okay. Where, well, what are you going to do with that? You could go be an English teacher in high school. You'd probably need a master's or a PhD to do that as a professor, but that's going to cost you silly amount of money. Like university in the States is so expensive, and but your earning potential is not going to be that high. But at least with us, yes, you put a lot in, but your earning potential is high. So that's over many, many, many years, you will make back. It's not like you're going to be on 30 grand for the rest of your life. Of course not. So like, at least that's that's like the one like good thing about how much it costs is you're gonna earn a lot though throughout your career.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a good investment. Yeah.
That's true.
Just another couple questions and then we're done.
No worries. I love it. It's nice to have these kind of conversations.
Yeah, true. Did you have any preconceived like ideas of what it was to be a pilot? And although, you've only been like at the job for so long, is it what you expected? Is it different? Or, is there any differences there?
I'm trying to think like, I'd say on a day-to-day, it's pretty accurate. I mean, again, I know there's a huge difference between short haul and long haul. And I think most kids growing up, they envision long haul pilots and you go away and you stay overnight and stuff. But I think like when you think of what short haul is, pretty accurate. Although I think I didn't realize how short haul it is. Like the turnovers are so tight. Like I actually thought that you would get more time to just kind of like chill out for a little bit and you really don't. So that's like one thing that it's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just, I didn't know that really. I didn't realize that you had 30, 40 minutes to get the aircraft going back to where it came from. And then I'd say that, and this is something that I think knowing myself, like I'll want to kind of get back into, but there's not as much manual flying as I thought. So obviously throughout training, yes, I kind of figured, I realized what it was going to be like, but I'm saying like before I started flight training, I thought you do a lot more manual flying than you actually do. And I know it is airline specific. And I know that within reason in some airlines, you can still do a little bit more than is standard if you want. But it is a lot of like monitoring, even as pilot flying. And I do takeoff and the landing, but pretty much everything in between is just monitoring. And I feel like over time, I'm going to miss more hands-on flying. So this is kind of a random side note, but I forgot to mention UPRT in like the training because it's only 2 days.
Yeah.
I love, so if you don't know, it's upset prevention and recovery training. Not you guys, I'm saying if people listening don't know, obviously. And you basically kind of do like aerobatics training for like 2 days and you put the aircraft into a stall and spins and you try to get out of it. I love that. I'm an adrenaline junkie. I've been skydiving. I loved it. And even the instructor joked because we had some extra time and I was like, let's do this, let's do that. And he was putting the aircraft into all sorts of crazy things. I did my own loop, like inverted loop. He let me do it. Like I had so much fun. And he was like, you should consider instructing if you love it this much. And now that I think about it, I'm like, I could see myself doing that in the future because like I want to fly like and do that kind of stuff. And so I think that's one thing that I didn't know like before, that it is a lot of monitoring, especially once you take off and before you land, everything in between is pretty much monitoring as PF because you have autopilot in. And I get why, and it's safe and that's fine. But I think I'm going to miss the kind of hands-on like stick and rudder. So I think that that's something I'll look for kind of going into the future, maybe instructing and doing that kind of stuff as well. Yeah.
I'd say you will have opportunities. I think maybe once line training is done, there's certain airfields that you'll fly to, like off the top of my head, Faro is a perfect place to do manual flying. Obviously weather dependent, those kind of things, but you will find certain destinations and certain weather conditions are perfect for manual flying. And then it's just about us taking those opportunities to make sure that we do that, because we need to keep our skills up, not just every 6 months in the sim. So that's maybe a good little reminder for yourself, depending on where you are, what kind of manual flying, if you want to take everything out or you just want to take the autopilot or but I think people have ideas that we're always manual flying, but like you said, a lot of it is actually there's very little time where the autopilot's not in on a normal flight.
I think and I think as you said, there are some, I kind of forgot about that. There are some, I think Nice is one of them, right? That has a visual, like kind of the star just ends and then it's just a visual or something. I think we did that in the sim. And so I guess there are some opportunities where you get to do a little bit more manual flying, because that's like why we become pilots, like that's what's fun. And so those, but I'd say also like one thing that I didn't realize I'd love so much, even though I just started, is like just chatting with the passengers and greeting them and I've done a couple PAs already, which is so fun.
Nice.
I know a lot of people are scared to do PAs, but I've done public speaking before. I used to teach and stuff, so I wasn't really nervous to do them, and I've only done a few, but I love doing the PAs, and I like chatting to the passengers, and yeah, I like that kind of person-facing, like,
yeah, that's true.
Part of it.
And it's nice for us because we don't get to see the passengers that often, we're at the front, so it's nice to see who we've taken on holiday. And I'm sure they like to see who's flying the plane as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So I guess we're going to kind of wrap up every guest with this question just to see what their thoughts are of their career in the future. So what's your kind of aiming point going in the future, like short term and long term? Like, you working towards something on a short term, or what's your future goal? Like, what's your aiming point in the career?
Yeah, it has changed, and it's actually changed a lot from the beginning of flight school to type rating to even like now. I'm someone who has really kind of moved throughout life, taking different opportunities and moving to different countries and like dabbling a little bit in different careers and trying different things. So as someone who likes that, I'm not going to necessarily say this is the thing that I'm definitely going to be doing in 5 or 10 years because opportunities arise, things in your life change, your priorities change. So I know it's more of a boring answer, but there's not necessarily one thing or one airline or that I'm definitely going for. I used to think, I definitely want to go long haul. And now I'm like, who knows? I might want to stay short haul. Like, it's really difficult. But what I will say is that I just want to feel like fulfilled, and I want to have something where I actually feel like challenged at work and I'm not like bored or complacent. So whether that's taking on like training roles or helping with recruitment for an airline or moving to long haul or going into business jets or whatever it is, like I just want something where I'm feeling like challenged at work. And I know that every day is not going to feel that way, but you know what I'm saying? Like just where you're not just ho-hum, like I've been doing the same thing for 5 years or 10 years and I don't really have to think, like that's not for me. I want to be challenged. So whether or not I stay with my airline for 20 years and do training, or I go long haul or I move abroad and fly for an airline in a different country, like we'll have to see. But yeah, I just want to be like, I just want to enjoy being a pilot and I want to try different things. Yes.
Okay.
Love that answer from you, Sydney. That's such a good answer because it doesn't have to be something specific, but it can be just keeping open-minded to the opportunities that are out there and like not getting complacent. And then that can take you in so many different directions. So I love that. I think I'm going to take a leaf out of your book, Sydney. Yeah, I'm going to remember that one as well.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Well, Sydney, thanks so much for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
It's been so nice to chat and hear your stories because we like messaged a couple of times, but this is probably our first conversation, first of many, I hope.
Yeah.
No,
it was so nice seeing you at Gatwick, by the way. Like I don't even remember where that was, at the center like a month ago or something. That was great.
Oh, that's true. That's super quick. We didn't even take a picture.
I know, we both realized that after the fact. Yeah. And it was your first one back from maternity, wasn't it?
That's true.
So you were probably, but it was good.
There'll be other times.
Next time.
Definitely.
Next time, definitely.
Well, thank you both for having me. It was so nice. Like, it's so fun to chat with pilots at different stages of their career who live in different places, work for different companies, and see that there's plenty of differences, but there's so many things that like tie us together, and
that's so true.
You know, the same kind of journey that we all experience. So it's really cool.
We'll have to get you on in the future and see your progression.
Oh, exactly. 100%.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
And we'll put your Instagram, like social media handle in the comments. I won't do that. The tech guy will.
TikTok. My Instagram's private and boring. Yeah. I'll get you to do that, Aaron. Sure.
Yeah, cool. Oh, and Aaron, I think we'll be chatting soon.
Yeah, of course. So we'll have another episode in a couple of weeks. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, cheers guys.
Thank you.
Cool.